Welcome, everyone. I hope we haven't lost anybody in this transition from Jitsi to Mural. Yuxify is a community of creatives, designers that come together to discuss what's at the forefront of our practice in industry, in research, in education. And we try to host monthly meetings, and we've been successful for the last 9 months. So yay. It's Berkay, Sarah, Kelly, and myself. And today I'm both host and I'm host and guest at the same time. So yeah, welcome. If you can follow me, I am in a corner of this canvas with the title Life-Centered Design Workshop by Tiny Studio. So maybe I can tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Chiara Treglia, and I am co-founder of Tini Studio, which we like to think as a life-centered design agency. All we do is that we use the tools of design innovation to help organizations become more socially or environmentally sustainable. We're based in Eindhoven, and we do also a lot of development and research, and life-centered design. And it is like such a big theme and pioneering theme, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about that and to show you a couple of activities that we are collecting into one toolkit because, well, I'll discuss it a bit later. Life-centered design doesn't yet have a methodology or a toolkit because it's still like a mindset. It's a way of thinking. And so we're trying to do that. We're trying to create toolkits for designers, but also for non-designers to embrace this shift. So that's why we're here. And if you want to check more about Tiny Studio, I created a section in the bottom corner about Tiny Studio. And there's a bunch of links, Instagram, LinkedIn, our website. You're very welcome to check it out and stay in touch with us. We love to hear from you anytime. So, what about life-centered design? I'm gonna start by telling you a little bit of a personal story. I'm sorry, my cursor is not doing well. Okay. I have a background in design. I've been in design schools for quite a long time before I started my own practice. And I have been overwhelmed with the idea that design will save the world. And it's here to serve people, to make our lives better. And I've been a strong believer of that idea throughout my education. And that was great. I really believed in that, and until a couple of years ago, in which I started to do a little bit more historic research about design, and I came across some interesting things that didn't really match with what I thought design was about, saving the world. And when I discovered life-centered design, if you do your own research, you will find as well this poster that you see here. Design won't save the world. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen, you pretentious F word. Pops up a lot. And when I first found it, I found it very, I was like, I don't know, like this is a bit much. Why now design is the exact opposite? Like why do we think design is so pretentious, so, Messiah complex kind of thing? And so it was a bit... this poster started for me as well, this thinking behind, like, okay, is design good? Is design bad? Are all those beliefs that I've been taught throughout still valid? And I found out through research that design is both, has done both, has saved the world, but has also made it worse from a purely historical perspective. I learned that from the Industrial Revolution onward, design has been in service of business, and usually the focal point of these businesses is a very limited amount of people, a very small privileged minority that can afford design, right? And from that beginning, we developed what we now know as human-centered design, which from my understanding is the design way of what we call the Anthropocene, which is just a historical era in which we have put human needs, the user needs, at the center of what we do. We put ourselves in the center and above everything. And this has helped us really solve big, big problems. If you think about how much our healthcare systems have improved, all kinds of services, all kinds of products that really changed the way we live for the better by using this amazing design methodology, the human-centered design. However, we kind of forgot the costs from an environmental perspective, and also from another human perspective, which is the perspective of the non-most privileged people. And so that's where life-centered design claims its role by becoming, if we choose it to be, the design way of the post-Anthropocene, this new era in which we realize that we are just one bit that moves into a complex ecosystem and influences other elements, both living and non-living, and kind of like shifts our perspective. We're not at the center of everything. We're not the most important thing all the time, but we're just an agent with our own values and needs, just like other living and non-living things. We just need to coexist. And it kind of like, at least for me, it made me realize, okay, this really, it's a bit of a humbling experience to realize that we don't always need to be at the center. We can sometimes kind of broaden our horizons and realize that maybe other things, living or not, can be in the middle of our attention, of our design process. And the hope is that if we actually decide to do that, we'll be able to enter a new historical period in which, we can coexist with nature and with other humans that are much different than us in a more harmonious way, in a more balanced way. And so that's a little bit this introduction about life-centered design. And as you can see below this three little, the poster, the circles, and the sketch, there is a big square. So we call it parking lot, but we prefer to call it cabinet of distracting ideas. So if you have any questions already now or later that pop up and you want to ask them, please put them there, and then we'll talk about them so that we can keep the flow and then go back to the questions. So this leads me to, do you have any questions for now? I see all is quiet. So I guess we can get started with the workshop. So if you see where I am, we are going to start by practicing using Mural. I don't want to assume that all people have used Mural before, so let's all try to grab a Post-it. So on the left bar, on the left black bar, there is a Post-it icon. You can choose a Post-it note of any color, of 3 different shapes, and put your name in it. Tell us a little bit about you, something funny about you, so that we can see who is in the room. My mural seems to be a bit laggy, but I don't understand. 1 minute while everybody does that. All right, I'm back. My mouse was being silly. All right, we have some nice stories. Does anyone want to share and introduce themselves? And tell us why you joined this workshop, maybe?
Hello, we're Object Density, so I'm Kim and this is Nicola. Our favourite TV series is The Great British Bake Off. That's kind of why we looked at getting a VPN for the most secure data available. We are starting our design studio, so looking at a more healthy way to structure our work-life balance, and I think this is maybe a good place to start.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody else?
I can say something. I'm Ruud. I wrote on my post-it I had a Corona wedding a few months ago, so
Congrats.
it was interesting. Thanks. So interesting experience. Why I'm here today? I've been interested in sustainability for quite a bit, but I've also been struggling to find the connection to how to do that in UX, especially since I work in enterprise UX. Mm-hmm. So I'm basically working for the bad guys. So also trying to kind of, how can you take small steps to kind of improve the world from within kind of the bigger companies as well.
Yeah. Thank you. I hope we'll be able to give you a little bit of an inspiration, a few exercises down the line. All right.
I'll jump quickly and introducing myself. I'm Berkay, one of the co-organizers of UXify Eindhoven, and I posted a funny post-it saying I cannot run with long pants, but only with shorts. But that was not the reason why I wanted to check in with you. If you guys feel comfortable, we would like to record this session. So we can compile a nice footage out of it. So is there anyone who would be not comfortable with having this session recorded? If you can speak up or write something in the chat in the next 1 minute, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll be starting to record. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good reminder. Yes. Everybody okay with the recording? Yeah. Cool. Thanks. All right. Then, well, nice to meet you all. I read really funny things on these post-its. Really, really nice. I guess we'll start today by asking ourselves what we think life-centric design means. So that's the next little block. And actually, this is a combined exercise. I would like everybody to try to think what life-centric design would mean to you in your practice, but also what have we learned from human-centered design that we can apply, that we want to keep if we were to bring our life-centered design practice forward. Is the question clear to everybody? You see two blocks. So the with the little hand with number 2, and then the 2 hands with number 3. This is the 2 blocks. So what does life-centered design means?
Recording is on.
Oh. And what have we learned from human-centered design that we can apply in life-centered design? We'll give it 10 minutes. Actually, let's just give it 8, and then we'll see where we're at. Voila. If you see your post-its moving, I'm just making them bigger so that we can read them. So many insights, awesome. so many good ideas already. Wow. Some last thoughts? I see some people finishing up. 3 more minutes. Wonderful. All right. I think, oh, I see more is coming through. Let's give it last minute and then let's have a nice chat about this. I see so much good input. All right. I see it's quite busy already. So I wouldn't even know where to start. Is there someone that wants to share what their thoughts are? Because there's so much. See a nice doodle. Oh, this doodle is interesting. So human-centered design is part of life-centered design. Can I hear from the drawer, the artist of this doodle?
The artist of the doodle.
Yeah.
Now I have to speak. Yeah, I just had the feeling that
we can't hear you that well. It's very.
Then I'm afraid I can't fix that.
Oh.
That's an issue with my laptop.
Okay.
We'll just be extra attentive.
Yeah, try to tell us a little bit, and then we'll.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think that human-centered design should be a part of life-centered design, because I would assume that life-centered design looks a bit more broadly at other living entities like animals or plants or anything else, and humans are just a part of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very interesting perspective. Do we have a reaction to this perspective? Someone who agrees or disagrees?
We agree.
Well, we had conflicting opinions.
Yeah.
So coming from like a product design background, my interpretation of life-centered was to look at a person's sort of holistic experience rather than just addressing what that single need, is being targeted by the design solution. But then Nick had a bit of a wider perspective that
I thought that it was more about human, like we aren't the focus. We like to think of ourselves as the focus, but when shouldn't be the focus. And life-centered design is more about how we're a part of that broader system rather than how can it be addressed.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess the two views can be combined in the sense that we are a living thing, and through history we have trained ourselves to think ourselves as separate from nature and our holistic experience. But technically, from a purely technical and biological standpoint, designing for humans is designing for life, right? Right. But I guess the more like the philosophical or like political agenda behind life-centered design is really about removing the obsession with I see some posts about ego and egocentrism. That's very interesting. I think that's a bit the philosophy behind the life-centered design. I see interesting things like it just appeared, say no to some clients' projects, moving away from an egocentric mindset. Well, can we hear from?
Yeah, it's mine. I'm working at a design agency currently, Hike One it's called, and I am actually we are a self-steering organization, so we're performing a holacracy at the moment. And I am actually the lead link of the footprint circle, which is interesting. I'm trying to, as good as I can, lower our footprint, ecological footprint. But I noticed that we are getting bigger, we are growing, and there are also projects like Shell, for instance, that I'm not a fan of working for them as a design agency. So I'm struggling with that because yes, I know it brings money, but no, we should say no to those clients and projects. And I know that there are fellow colleagues of mine who think the same, but still we have this people who sell or are sales advisors or do the sales and think, yeah, we should bring money to the company. So it's a fight. And yeah, I have the feeling, or my goal is to eventually have some guidelines on who should we say no to. And I think we have the luxury to say no to those clients.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Ahead.
No, you go.
And no, I'm interested because on the one hand you could indeed distinguish per company, but on the other hand, if a bad company generally tries to transform itself and initiate, I don't know, some grassroots or some innovation lab or whatever you call it, projects or departments that are actually have the right focus. I'm wondering whether it would be more based on a project-based determining whether you want to work with someone or not.
Yeah, I think I agree. And in this case, it was the project that was, it was an interface for drilling more oil out of the ground. So that wasn't really into my beliefs. So it depends definitely on the project. I agree on that.
Yeah. I think the point I see a posted about business remodeling can tie very well with this discussion we're having right now. So depending on indeed what kind of projects you're working on, maybe the project itself is to help the company redesign their business model to be more sustainable, environmentally, more socially environmentally sustainable, and then one needs to ask themselves, why not, or why yes. So I think it's a very good point. I think it's also it's really about values. I think the more we talk about this, it's clear how much integrity and your own personal beliefs play a role in this. And I think I would like to move on to the next board, since we're talking about this, because maybe looking at human-centered design can help us make those decisions as designers. At what point do we like to lean into the mainstream, what is offered, or what can we take from our current practice, the human-centered design practice, into life-centered design? I see really nice, very nice points here. Does anybody want to share what the main takeaway from human-centered design is that we can bring into this next evolution? Any thoughts? Because if there is any thoughts I would like to share where I come from, I think for me the most interesting thing about this human-centered design and design thinking is empathy. I think empathy, we train designer to feel a lot of empathy for our users, our customers, or the customers of our clients. But that empathy is so useful. So if we could expand the range of our empathic feelings to other things than just these users, these customers, it would be really good. And with this, I mean also being empathetic for more abstract concepts like nature. It's a very abstract thing, right? It's alive, but it's abstract. And I think it's hard in general to feel strongly about something that is a bit, it's intangible. And it becomes tangible only when we are walking in a forest or when we are actually engaging with them. But like to keep that empathic sense throughout and for all other things that surround us can help us become more life-centric. I see some heads nodding. Does someone disagree with me? Because I would love to have a debate about this or different perspectives. No, I see. Then we all. Oh.
I'm curious because someone did like a post-it with the -1. Mm-hmm. So does that mean you're not? You feel like it's bad to do the empathy thing? Okay. Can you share, Annegret?
You might be muted, Annegret. Now we cannot hear you at all. Nope.
No.
We lost you.
Nothing. That's all right. Does anybody have another idea or another perspective? What do we think we can take from human-centered design into life-centered design? I see a lot of good stuff about research, prototyping, iterating.
And maybe as a combined point out of all of that, I think design approaches and processes are quite mature, and that there's a lot of good standard processes already that you could build upon and generalize and reapply. But you don't have to completely start over, I guess, if you want to change your focus, what you want to design and how you want to design.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, definitely.
For me, it kind of feels like we're moving from a very tight circle in the center slowly out to include more and more things.
Yeah.
So from, I guess, an industrial revolution period of design, it was very focused on addressing a single need. Mm-hmm. And then we grew to include a wider human need. And now it feels like we're growing to include a global all living things need. So it's almost like we reach periods of, like you were saying, maturity in a design process where we begin to look more outward rather than more inward.
Yeah, definitely. And human-centered design can help us with that, definitely. 100%. I also see, I'm noticing now, because I'm looking at Miro, that there is also a nice interaction going on our chat. So if you want to share things on the board, that would also be nice. It's really nice to see. It's about integrity. Oh yeah, Thijs talked about integrity. Yeah, we touched upon it. Integrity indeed. Wonderful. So are there more points or questions, because I would like to dive into the next two activities, which will be part of a life-centric design toolkit.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And it's about one thing I think about the human-centered design is like also some people mention it's about methods. It's very like tangible, the methods exist and you know how to apply them, and you can measure when you're done, kind of, in a lot of projects. This was the goal, and it can be very measurable. How do you see life-centered design also being actionable, and not only like on a philosophy level? Because it feels to me that it can be too much of an utopia, like, is it reach? Can we make it, or is it always like our method to do our best?
At the moment, I think, so we call ourselves a life-centered design agency, but basically we leverage the measurability of human-centered design outputs into life-centered design projects. So I think it's going to be about deciding what value is. I see also posted here called value-sensitive design. And for us, when we work with companies that are asking us, how can we become more sustainable? That is very measurable as well. And so it's about creating the same, a new toolkit, a new methodology that leverages, of course, measurability, because that's essential. Otherwise, I agree completely with you. Otherwise, we stay here at this very absolutely abstract level, and then apply it to a new project. Yeah, by changing what we consider valuable, and valuable for whom as well. That's also another thing that makes it more measurable for us, because if the value is just determined by one specific stakeholder, shareholder, customer, then you can measure how many other users or agents benefit from your design intervention. For instance, that's another way for us at least, to make it measurable in a sense, broaden the impact, or consider other agents in your design process, basically. Does that answer your question a little bit?
So, sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry, yeah.
My mic
That also means. Oh,
no, sorry.
oh, you go ahead.
No, you go. It's just that I was trying to talk, but my mic is very slow, so if I click, it takes too long. But go ahead.
Sorry, now I feel really rudely interrupted. I was wondering if you think that means that we'll have to make design decisions that mean that we lose, essentially. Like, if we're looking at us as not the focus, we should be doing things that benefit other life forms, and to keep things all equal, it means that we could have to, not be the winners all the time.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. Which
And
is...
you picture that being something that'll happen, I guess?
Possible.
Realistic, yeah.
Sorry, that's why. So this is I don't know if it's realistic, and that's why we're trying to develop this toolkit, because how can you really feel empathy, or how can you put really other living things that you cannot really share lived experience with at the center of your design process? That, I think, still remains very theoretical and philosophical. But who knows? We'll be able to. Who knows what technology will bring us in the future? Who knows? Maybe we'll actually be able to empathize with other living things more. If you look at more like speculative design projects that I saw this Dutch Design Week, were really all about that. Like, how do you really create that connection with other living things, and include them in your process? So yeah. In a sense, it's hard to say we can, but maybe
while everything's sort of run for a profit, at the moment. Like that, I guess, comes to the bottom line.
Mm.
While businesses are trying to make a profit, the life-centric approach may not, serve that purpose.
Well, not in the short term, for sure.
Yeah, you almost have to look at a wider, if you put company profits second, then this will be a really, productive methodology.
Yeah.
It's going to be
I
difficult.
would tend to disagree with that, to be honest. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we're going to have this again. No, because I'm also thinking that, you're basically competing with a different philosophy as well. There's this whole big lean methodology coming up where everything that's waste has to be reduced. And you even see it in healthcare system that hospitals become lean, and then everything is sacrificed for small gains. So it's a complete mind shift that you have to make. So it will be and that's maybe for the parking lot. I'm really interested also into say, how can we reach people that are not attending these type of sessions and convince them what are the kind of the practical things we can come up with together that will help to shift people's mindset.
Yeah. Is there a reaction? Because I would like to maybe touch upon this. We have an allocated 10-15 minutes session to just share this more broad thinking, and because we have still the 2 exercises to go through. So maybe we do that and then we go back to this. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you follow me in this little green area where there is a table with 3 chairs, I'm hoping to answer a question that came up earlier. How do we look this from a more corporate perspective, a more business perspective? And we call this the chairs exercise. And it's an exercise that changes the question. In human-centered design, we ask ourselves, how may we? And by doing this exercise, we shift to ask ourselves, why should we? Is there even a point in doing what we're doing, if not to satisfy somebody else's pockets, perhaps, or just a very limited, privileged target group? So we work a lot with scenarios, so I propose a mini scenario here. And you have to imagine that this is a stakeholder meeting of an autonomous vehicle company called Autovey. And they are coming together to make decisions about their product. And all these multiple stakeholders have a say, but 3 chairs have been left there for stakeholder nature, stakeholder humanity, and stakeholder the future. So the activity is to put ourselves in the shoes of these 3 imaginary stakeholders and think about what they would say if they were sitting in this meeting. And I would give it, let's say, 5 minutes. And then we'll see where we are. Okay, let's go. All right. Three, two, one. Do you need more time, or do we want to have a mini sharing session? Because I see very interesting things. Does anybody want to share what they put as future, nature, and humanity?
Yeah, I can share something.
Go for it.
I had to start with nature because the other day I heard that most of the materials, the raw materials that the Earth has in order to build like batteries and the electrical devices and stuff, they are already on the list of, how do you say, almost extinct resources. Not the right word, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I think like I am nature, and I think that I don't have the necessary resources to build all those batteries and electric devices. So from a future perspective, I think it's actually funny how everyone thought going electric was going to solve the climate crisis. And as humanity, meanwhile, is more on thinking day to day and says, I don't trust just that I don't get stranded somewhere with not charging my car. So it's a bit of a disconnect.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And how about the future? Yeah, this idea that future will be electric. I see some points here as well.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think that transition's fully occurred, though. I think it's unfair to say that going electric won't save the planet, because we don't have reliable electric collection and storage on sort of a micro level that we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. So until that sort of threshold is reached where we can generate, store, and use our own electricity in a sustainable way, then like I see that as a free power source in a way. Obviously, the resources is a totally different conflicting argument, but I think we've got a long way to go before ruling out electric as an alternative that is safer and more sustainable.
Definitely.
But what if we would focus otherwise instead of solving the real problem, right? Our consumption. Because if electric is not, if there is not enough resources simply to sustain our consumption as a population.
Yeah.
So going electric is sort of a pipe dream, I think the name is. It's not going to solve anything, right?
But I guess is consumption just a part of human nature? Like, are we going to be able to design out consumption from humanity, or is that always going to be a feature of our existence? And how do we learn to make that as harmonious as possible, or like as least drain on natural reserves or finite resources? I think moving to renewable alternatives is a way of kind of lessening the impact.
Definitely, of course, we have to do it. So, of course, I'm not saying that. It's just that we also have to change our ways, right? Because
totally.
The last, 50, 70 years, it's so much increased.
It's interesting also, I was noticing now that I think some of you read Humanity from a user of a electric car perspective. Well, and this is more for me to get feedback on the wording perhaps of this exercise as well, because I think I meant humanity more from not just drivers of a potential driver of such a vehicle, but more from like humanity at large. And so I see some points about it, like why the rush all the time, and also I put a more maybe challenging question, like why are we making self-driving in terms of consumption, linking back to the idea of consumption? Why do we all need a self-driving car? Why are we not making self-driving buses, which could make transport much more safer and efficient for a larger amount of people, would enable and empower much more people than just those very few that will be able to afford a self-driving car. Does that make sense? So would you say that humanity is a confusing word in this context? Or is it, how did you read it? Like, how did you find the word humanity in this? How did you read the word humanity in this exercise?
I guess I read it as I'm a human, therefore. What is my take? If I was to imagine that as humanity, I didn't, I guess, think it as, a wider whole.
Yeah.
Perhaps society, I would think more of a like collective whole.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have other input on this? Because I think
I might want to say something. I was also thinking about this consumption part, because I think one of the things that we need to think about is how we can switch our needs to be more local and slower and less focused on all those like external satisfactions.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. That's very,
In some ways, sorry, I very much agree, but I also think that can conflict with a sustainable, society. I guess there's a balance between existing in a local environment and having a most efficient practice. And I wonder where we toe the line of both.
I don't really know if I understand what you mean.
Well, I guess I've been thinking about food production a lot, and I cook quite a lot and like to cook from scratch. So, starting with all the raw ingredients. And I wonder if, cooking chickpeas from dried beans is actually more energy and resource intensive than buying a tinned product, because on an industrial scale of food production, they would have minimized the energy and resource use down to such a finite point that me boiling them on the stove for 2 hours is actually moving in the wrong direction.
Okay, well, that was not what I meant. I meant that, for example, why do we always want the newest phone? Well, I don't want that, but I know that many people want it. So we take a lot of satisfaction from the stuff that we can buy and showing that we can travel somewhere. It's a very much satisfaction based situation where we're coming from, I think, or like we're not really happy with ourselves, and therefore we need to do stuff, we have to buy stuff, we have to show that we're successful. So that comes also with those cars, for example.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. I guess that's reflective of how material culture shapes society and how sustainability is a part of that argument. I have no answers for that. I'm as curious as you are.
So I would like to design for that, to help people understand that life can be rich without all those external motivations.
That's very good. It's very good input for me personally, I think, because this consumption perspective, we didn't want to include it in this exercise so far because it's so tied to the human-centered design way of doing things, more commercial way of designing, and so we don't want to necessarily be against it, but I think you present a very good perspective. How do you design for happiness, or how do you design for self-fulfillment? That's very, very useful. Thank you.
And that's also why I actually said that I feel that taking care of like nature, even though I don't think that nature and humans are actually different, but that is taking care of ourselves. So we should see the pleasure in taking care of the whole living system.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. If there are no more comments, I see there's so much going on in the chat. That's great. But I would like to end today's session with the last exercise. We'll keep it 10 minutes so that we can have another final 10 minutes for feedback and for the discussion. And this activity is called Less by Design. I'm very into the idea of resourcefulness. One time I met a person and she was supposed to start her exchange in a foreign country. And the school didn't give her access to the facilities of the school yet. But she had to start her design semester. And all she had was her suitcase. And she came back and she told me, I really learned how to be resourceful. I could only design from my suitcase for maybe like a month until the university finally gave her access to the facilities. And I thought, wow, that's such a strange thing, isn't it? To just design out of your suitcase with all few things that you brought from your home country. And so that inspired this idea of like less by design. And there's a whole theory about least modernism, like a future with less, how will change how we are, how we perceive life. And so these 3 exercises are very simple. So I would like everybody to just dump your brain on the first canvas and sharing what would we design less? Like, what do we have enough of? What is it we don't need any further? We're good with it. And then the second canvas, it's about asking, okay, now that we have designed all of this, we don't want more of this, what problems are left to fix? And so we can think about that. And in the last canvas, I would like to challenge everybody to think, what is the least we could do to fix them? And with the least, I mean, think of the most low-tech, nature-inspired, accessible to the many solution we could use to fix the problems that we list in the canvas in the middle. So for this, I'm gonna put 9 minutes, and then we'll end the session with the general feedback. Thank you.
It goes until 7:30. Okay. I find it really interesting how we start from a design perspective, and then we go into talk about governments and talking about capitalism. Like everything is connected and is part of humanity at the same time. Interesting.
And we're talking about life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Very much.
That's nice. We talk about life, and first thing comes to mind is politics.
Sorry, what?
First thing that comes to mind apparently when we talk about life or politics. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So many things. Cheers. Nice. Awesome. Nice. All right. Wow, more is coming in. So many good ideas. Mm. Mm. Okay, we have 1 more minute and then we wrap up. All right. Time is up. Thank you, everyone, for your amazing input. Before we go into the closing minutes of today's workshop, I just wanted to mention that right below these 3 canvases, I put some resources. If you're interested in digging further into life-centric design and regenerative design, then right next to it, you can find all about Uxify and also a link to give us feedback. So we would really appreciate if you could tell us how you liked today's workshop and how you like this format.
Could you unlock the link?
The link is already unlocked or isn't? Oh,
I'm just
sorry.
gonna copy paste it on the chat as well.
Thanks. Yes, that's also.
Oh,
There
no,
we go.
no.
Now it's unlocked. So if you just click it or copy paste it in your browser, you can find it. And so thank you. And yeah, so let's wrap it up. What did you think of this last activity? Any insights that you want to share?
There's plenty to fix, huh?
Yeah. And it's also, it's interesting for me to see that there's plenty to fix, but it's quite concise. While the options that we have to fix it, there's plenty of things that we could do. So I think that for me at least is the insight. Like the problems are very kind of like popping out. They're clear, quite concise. But there's so much we could do.
What I did struggle with the last exercise, like with the last canvas, is that what is the very least we could do to fix them, but there's no specific thing. You know, there are a lot of things we could fix, but then for me, like in my head, it is difficult. Okay, I literally picked one. Okay, climate change. What is the least we could do to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that order, that is maybe a little bit difficult to
make a clear connections.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
What was really interesting for me is that in the first, or in the leftmost, like 2 rectangles, we're talking about what should we design less of, what is left to fix, and we are kind of talking about problems, organizations, and certain tools and products in the market. Mm-hmm. But the answers to what's the very least we could do to fix them is very self-centric, and it could be also because of the question asked. What could we do to fix them? But at the same time, I can imagine that most of the answers lay in how we kind of like behave and how we organize ourselves within the communities, within the societies to fix these problems. So it's quite interesting that it's all starting from us and the layers around us.
Which is a big discussion.
We're also the biggest problem to fix, right? Humans.
But sorry, I missed completely the last bit. 2 people were talking.
I said, I guess the humans are also the biggest problem to fix. Because without us, there would not really be a problem for life.
Yeah, that is also what I put in the last thing. Like, what is the very least we could do to fix it? Well, have less humans, but
yeah.
Yeah, but also I think if you want to fix things, it's a good idea to start at least looking at yourself and what you can do.
Yeah, definitely.
Could you maybe also
that's
unlock
also why I put like at the top, I put down like, I think what can we fix? I think we can fix every single project we work on, every single service we design, and every single product that we make. Because I think what I see, at least a lot of times happening, is that people are sort of waiting until they get the possibility to, you know, do a project that is sustainable, or work with a client that is responsible, or, you know, and until that time, but that will never happen, you know. We have so many countless opportunities in this daily work that we do, and the discussions that we have. I think that is where we start, and that is what we can actually fix and do from tomorrow on.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. We were discussing with our previous speaker as well, because she tends to annoy her colleagues by asking always about the ethics and diversity and sustainability. And it is important to make these points. Maybe it's important to also have this give and take communication, and not ask that question 10 times and people want to get rid of it from that conversation. But it is important to emphasize these topics in the right times. And I think if we do that, we become better people and better designers as well.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I've realized that I have locked the resources as well.
Yeah.
I unlocked only once, so I'm very sorry about that. Now they are all unlocked. So feel free to click away. Super interesting discussion. So do you find this, I just wanted to wrap up, do you find this tool has potential for designers? Because I hear, like, I completely agree with the last statement. Yeah, we always look for the sustainable client that asks us a question about sustainability. So like, yeah, but then as we get there, what do we do? So I was my question mainly is, do you find this tool, these questions, I guess, this canvas is like somehow supportive of this transformation, like understanding that as designers we are more responsible and with more power than we think we do, maybe?
I think one of the funny things that happened is that we started talking about design methodology, but when it became, there was a case to think about.
Recording has stopped.
Everyone just stopped being a designer and started becoming, someone trying to fix the world. So the exercises were quite engaging, that everyone dived into content problem solving instead of just observing what the method did. So I think that at least the scenario really helped to get people in the right mindset. So I think that was very useful. And I think from then on, it's flowed quite nicely. So yeah, I think it's definitely a valuable framework. One of the things that I also put down already in the survey, it might be nice if we at the end get this kind of you write down all kinds of kind of more anonymous methods, all kinds of things that you would want to fix and about are easy to do.
Yeah.
So we kind of would be nice to have kind of like a commitment at the end, or a call to action, I commit to starting doing this or something.
100%. Especially in a company context, I think that's a very powerful thing to do. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, thank you. That's a very good point. Yeah. All right. It's 7:30. So we are aware of time. We're done for today. But unless I'm happy to stay a few more minutes if people have final thoughts or final comments, because otherwise you're off. Oh, I see some. Could spend a whole day on this. Yeah. Me too. All right. Well, if there is no more thoughts, I would like to thank you all, because this has been super duper useful for me personally, for the work I'm doing. And I really, really appreciate your feedback. And it makes me really, really happy to see the kind of like insights that this has generated. So thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks
Karen.
all for coming.
Thank you all for
Very nice
joining.
meeting you.
Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, we have one more meeting actually, one
yeah.
more event in the theme of sustainability, and that will be in the form of a panel in December. So we will do also a bit of a recap of what we have achieved in the last year. So we hope to see you there. And the month after, we're gonna basically set the new theme. And in the last meeting, we had an idea or suggestion to work on ethics. We also have an idea to explore the big tech area. So if you have any suggestions on what a theme could be, that we can bring different speakers and different formats together, please let us know. We are always looking for inspiring ideas from you. So it's also nice that we stay relevant to what's interesting for you. So super curious.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Doei.
Yeah.
Doei.